What's good, internet people? If you're new to my channel, my name is JWIN, and I'm the guy that rather play poker than keep his 180K job. But seriously, it took me 6 months to put out my first vlog, and the response has been overwhelming. Here's what you guys did. 41.5K views on my first vlog. 41.5K views on my first vlog. Like, y'all are incredible. 3.7K watch time hours. Y'all know I need 4,000 hours to monetize my channel. By tomorrow, my channel is going to be monetizable. Subscribers, 4.1K subscribers. And the level of engagement at 98.6%. I don't even know what the hell that means. But first things first, I just wanted to thank you all for giving this channel a chance. I won't take the support for granted, and I really look forward to putting my journey on full display for you all. All right, next, and I really want to be quick here. There were 800 plus comments in the video, and I try my best to get back to every single person. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to address a couple of quick things. People were wondering what my former occupation was and what my corporate background looked like. For me, I got really lucky. I started my career at Apple when I was 23, and I spent 7 years there, mostly in supply chain and operational planning. After that, I did my business school thing and was recruited to join a health tech startup. And finally, in my most recent job, I was recruited to join a marketing firm as its VP and then later on promoted to COO. So that's the job that I ultimately got paid 180K in. I know to a lot of people, this sounds like it was a great opportunity and a great career path that I should have stayed on, and you're not necessarily wrong. I do think that everybody in life has their own path, and I just happen to be choosing mine. So that begs the question, like, what is the real reason for leaving that type of career job? Ultimately, it came down to a few different factors. One of the biggest things is that I started losing control of what matters. For me, it was the relationship that I had with the people that I loved, and I wanted to make sure that I could spend more time with them. And when you have the type of job where work is on your mind 24/7, and maybe you're at the office almost 24/7, it's really hard to focus on anything else. The second thing was I just needed a break to focus on me. I just felt like time had been passing and I started waking up, not really caring about the type of person that I was becoming. And I think just one day I woke up, I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, this is not who I want to be. This isn't what I'm meant for, and there has to be something else that I can apply my skills towards. And at the same time, I started playing poker regularly. At this point, I was playing poker for maybe 2.5 years. And what started as a hobby became a side income, and that became a passion. And the truth is, if I really, really want to be good at this game, I needed to dedicate more time into studying, learning, playing, etc. Now, I know I rushed through that topic quite a bit, but I want to keep this video short, and I hope that that adds a little bit color into some of the questions that you guys are wondering. All right, and then the second thing. There were a few comments of people being skeptical. Maybe some people did it in a way that they were showing concern, while others just straight out told me my decision was stupid. And I do want to touch up on that. I mean, the first thing is this. When I reflect on my career and all the decisions I made in life, it was always because I did things that made the most sense to me based off of what I knew and what I believed. My salary over the years didn't just go from 30K over to 180K. There were plenty of times when people thought I was crazy. People thought I was crazy for leaving Apple for a startup. People thought I was crazy that when I left that company and I had two different job offers, one was 150K and the other one was 80K, I took the 80K one. There's been multiple times in my life where my decisions didn't necessarily correspond with what people wanted out of their lives, but I'm really happy with the decisions that I made, because ultimately the one thing that I found out in life is that my decision making will never ever be driven by money alone. And that was really important for me to figure out as a personal value of mine at a really young age, because without that, I wouldn't have made the sacrifices to do the things that I wanted to in life. And if we really have to put financial pressures on it, don't worry, I'm good. Let's talk poker now. When I made the decision to leave my job, I made the decision that I wanted to be a great poker player. Years ago, I worked for the CFO named Josh Stanley, and I remember the one thing that he told me that I never forget. You have to be great at one thing in life, and you have to go all in on it. I got to be honest with you. I was a really good employee and a really good team member and a really good team manager, but I just don't think I'm ever going to be a great employee. I got bigger dreams that involves me working for me, and for me to do those things, I'm going to have to develop new skills, one of which is YouTube, and I'm going to do that on my own time. But when it comes to poker, that is one of the things that I did that I felt like I can be really, really great at. And I hope that if you join me on this journey, that you'll see me 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, get better and better and better. And if I don't disappoint you guys, hopefully I'll be playing on a main stage somewhere. but I truly think that I have a chance at being great, and I'd be damned if I didn't believe in myself and take the chance for myself. Anyway, that closed up my opening remarks. Thanks again for everybody joining me on my vlog and my poker journey. Without further ado, let's get into the vlog because I work hard on this shit and I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, guys, let me know what y'all think. Write to me in the comments below. It's the weekly Doug Polk game at the Lodge in Round Rock, Texas. We get seated for $6K and the stakes are 5, 10, 25, optional 50. Let's run it up, y'all. First hand of the session and the table decides they want blood. So naturally, we kick it off with the PLO bomb pot.
9 players.
We open our cards from the first position and see Queen 6, 5, 3, 6 of spades. On the flop, we have the nuts on the bottom board with nothing on the other. It checks around to the hijack who bets 225. Cutoff calls, and we join the party. Everyone else folds. On the turn, we get no help on the top board, but now we're potentially counterfeited on the other. We go ahead and check, and so does the hijack. Cutoff bets 60% this time, and we now have a decision to make. With nothing on the top board and a vulnerable hand on the bottom, best case scenario is that we get chopped. Worst case, scoop. This game is going to draw plenty of blood on our table, but this time, we're going to fold and look for a better spot. On to our first hold'em hand. Someone to our right opens up the action to 75. We look down at pocket sixes and 3-bet under 225. The cutoff doesn't think it's enough and 4-bet us to 575. Plus 1 folds and we go heads up. On the flop, we check to play and flow. Our opponent bets $500. With 3 overcards, there's nothing to do but to fold. I share this hand because pocket sixes would simply be a pure fold from the low jack against any early position raise. However, I use this hand to intentionally isolate my opponent and to establish my pace and image early. Once we're in the hand though, we're happy to play 200 big blinds effective with the other opponent. I think this board is interesting because I have way more straights and sets, so it's reasonable to bluff at this one. However, we decided just let it go. It's early and we actually don't know anything about our opponent. Time for another bomb pot. This time we're in the second position. We get Jack 10, 9, 7, Jack of Hearts. The flop gives us a wrap on the bottom with some backdoors up top. No reason to lead out here, so we check. The low jack bets $300. It folds back around to us and we make the loose call. The person on our left also makes the call. Yeah, we're gonna need some help here. Turn comes a 10 up top, which gives us an open ender, and on the bottom, we hit our nut straight. At this point, I feel much better about our hand. With others behind us though, we check the action back to the aggressor, who sizes up to $1,300. Time to think. With a straight completing, oftentimes the aggressor would check back the board. However, sets of aces and eights would still continue to barrel. We thought about our option and decided it was best to protect our equity by pushing the in-between player out, just in case if he has sets on our board. We already have the nuts and see a 10 blocker on the other side. We raise all in and hope to hit our other straight, which would allow us to scoop. First part of the plan works as the +1 folds. We never expected low jack to fold, so here we go to the river. When non-changing cards come out, we expect to take down half the pot. Surprisingly, our opponent actually had the same straight, with top 2 on the other side. We get quartered. So that one hurts, but I deserved it. I have a preset strategy for PLO bomb pots, which I didn't follow. I guess discipline is everything.
Well, that fucking sucks. We thought really careful about the hand. I mean, we had the nuts on one side with a full wrap on the other. I don't know. I have to deny some equity. I didn't want a third player in necessarily, and when a 10 came on the other turn, it gave me a full wrap. It also blocked a straight on the bottom board, so it is what it is. Bomb pot is pretty tough. I think I played that the correct way, but kind of bummer. So anyway, we're down, I believe we're down 3.3 right now. We just loaded an extra 3K in. So we'll see how the rest of the game goes.
Hand 36 and we double straddle to 50. Time for a big hand. Hijack opens up the action at 125 and gets 3-bet by the big blind of 500. We've played with this guy a couple of times before, and we know that he's capable of making big moves. If we felt that either of them were strong here, we should make the fold. but we opted a 4-bet and hope to play in position. Hijack quickly folds, so we go heads up to the flop. The flop is a high pair board. When big blind checks to us, we c-bet our full range, usually with a third. In this instance, we bet a little bigger than we should have at 42%. When big blind calls, his range continues with his bigger pairs, like jacks and tens, as well as his flush draws, maybe ace-jack, ace-10, ace-5. When a neutral 8 of diamonds comes on the turn, he continues to play in flow. We rarely have a queen here, and I'm not sure if we could fight our opponent off of his big pairs, so we decide to check it back. When the king hits the river, big blind decides to lead out with an all-in. 3.5k from max pressure. We obviously lose to any queen, and we only beat missed flush draws, so we go through analyzing his range. I was able to capture some decent audio, so I'll share that here.
Obviously, I'm only afraid of a queen. Queen is never in my range here. We don't have kings.
I don't get in the game.
You don't have king, queen of clubs.
Yo, I always get a Eric always does this.
Could have queen.
Pierre and I are
You don't have king, queen of hearts. You don't have king, queen of spades.
After that, we decided to put in the call. Our opponent says, "You're good," and we take down a huge 12k pot. Let's fucking go.
I just had to think through it real quick.
30 hands later, and we finally get some action. With the 100 Stratolon, we open it up to 300 with the JWINs. It folds to the big blind, who raises it up to 1.3k. He's a seasoned pro with a stack that covers ours, but we're never folding here, only proceeding cautiously. Flop comes king jack 7, 2 spades. Our opponent continues with a bet of 800. We can either raise it here or call in position. Since I raised from early position, I expect his range to be strong here. I decided to call to see what he does on turn. When the turn brings in the flush and a straight, our opponent checks it over to us. The turn may look like a scare card, but let's review what his range looks like. His relevant suited cards are ace-king, ace-queen, king-queen, ace-5. There's a king of clubs out there already, so 3/4 of these hands are out. However, I just don't see him checking over the nuts. So my plan is to attack the top end of his range that may not give up yet. Aces, ace-king, tens. I put out a bet of approximately half pot, 2.5k, but unfortunately get a quick fold. He later tells us he folded queens, which makes a lot of sense.
Let's go!
In the next hand, the low jack opens it up to 125. Hijack calls, button calls, and both straddles call. I know that queen 2 suited is quite wide here, but the stand-up game is still going strong and the money is moving around. When the flop comes king, queen 6, 2 spades, we're for sure not going anywhere. We check it over to low jack, who puts out a c-bet of $200. Hijack folds, and surprisingly, the button min-clicks it back. I've seen him do this before with ace-high type flush draws to buy a free turn, although he does have some value hands here like king 6 or 6s that may play it all the same way. Regardless, I'd like to see another card, so I call. The low jack flicks in another 2 black chips, and we head to the turn. The turn brings a little help with a 2 of clubs, so now we have 2 pairs. We check it back to the button, who puts out a larger bet of 1.6k. It's hard to fold right here when his range still consists of a lot of draws. I put in the call and watch closely to any table reads I can get. Low jack folds. The river completes a flush. We now beat his value hands on the turn, but lose to his previous bluffs. Yikes. We check it over expecting a third bet, but he simply says that he got it straight. That was surprising. Something to know for future hands. On the bright side, another nice medium pot pushed our way. At this point, we're up 7.5k. We feel pretty comfortable on this table, and we like where we're at. Let's catch a few more hands. The hijack raises to 75. When it folds to us, we look down at the ladies. Time to isolate and play in position. We 3-bet to 250 and get an overcall from the small blind. The hijack closes up the action. On a king 10-7 board, we decide to let it check through. There's a lot of hands we have to worry about, including top pairs and sets. When the turn is a blank, the small blind leads out for a big bet of $500. The hijack gets out the way and we make the call. Our queens are way too strong to give up to 1 bet. When the river pairs the kings, I'm surprised at small blind checking. Given the action, I feel like I could get value from a lot of weaker pairs, like jacks and tens. I bet 1K and get a tank call. We show our queens expecting a win, and was surprised to see aces. Wow. Well played, buddy. That could have been worse. In the next hand, it folds all the way to the button, who raises it to 100. Kind of a big size. Okay. With ace queen of clubs versus the button, we can fold out a lot of his hands. We 3-bet to 425 to isolate. When the button calls, we know that he'd call with all pairs, suited aces, and big Broadway cards. Let's see what the flop brings. King, king, 9, no clubs. Not really a favorable flop for me. And if I'm going to bet here, I'm going to have to barrel all streets to represent a king. But with no backdoors, I feel like this is just too marginal of a spot. I decided to check flop, and he checks it back too. On a blank 4, my game plan hasn't changed. I'm done with this pot, and I think he realizes that too. When I check it over, he puts in a small bet. We fold. But what a waste of a pretty looking hand. The 50 straddle is on, and LoJack doesn't think we need to make it more. I disagree and raise it to 225. It folds back to him, and he makes the call. Flop comes king jack 2 with 2 diamonds. The limper checks it to us, and we're okay with the free card, so we check it back. When a blank card turns, we decide to bet 1/4 pot. In hindsight, this should have just checked through again, but it doesn't take me long to realize this lesson as the LoJack check raises us to 500. Pretty meaty size. At this point, my range looks weak after the flop check back. Additionally, I have a lot of history with this opponent and know that he's capable of big and sporadic bluffs. 2 of our hands were against him earlier, in fact, where he deployed the same types of bluffs. We decide that either we're going to call turn and blank rivers, or we're going to fold here. This time we take the former option and make the call. Honor the river, and our opponent turns up the heat with an overbet of 2K. We think about it for a little and just don't see a lot of kings that he's limping in with.
How many kings are you limping in with, Eric?
We make the call, and he delivers the bad news. Ouch. An orbit later, and Limper MacGyver is back. He calls the 50. In position, I don't worry about isolating too much with a hand like Jack 9 suited, which can play pretty decent multi-way. I make the call and expect someone else in the blinds to raise it. The big blind raises it to 250, and both of us make the call. We're going 3 ways to the flop. The flop doesn't give us quads, but I'll settle for trips. The action checks to me, and I start with a large 50% bet. All over cards are going to fold to a third sizing, so why not bet more? I pay attention to big blind, and he makes the call. At this point, he has a lot of overpair combos or flush draws. LoJack gives up his hand, and we go heads up to the turn. When the turn double pairs the board and gives us the effective nuts, I don't ever think we're getting 2 more streets of value here. I decide to check it back in case he has a flush draw that would be inducing him making a river bet if he missed. When an 8 hits the river and he checks it to us, it's clear to me what I'm targeting. We go through our options of bet sizing and decide that we want to go big. All missed draws are going to fold anyway, so let's target the top of his range. We go for a full pot size, and it doesn't take long for him to flick in a chip. We turn over the cards and take a nice pot in. Kind of makes up for our pocket 8's blunder. Speaking of, let's try to play these pocket 8's better this time. When it folds to us in a LoJack, we have an easy open with pocket 8's. Small blind wants to pump it up to 700. He's a strong player who often looks to isolate and play with range advantages. He may have big pairs here, or he could be playing with a polarized range like ace-5 or ace-10 suited. He's going to have good board coverage most of the time, so we need to be careful. But of course, we make the call. When the flop comes king a3 rainbow, we can breathe a little. At this point, we just need to think about how to extract the most amount of value. Our opponent starts with a c-bet of $800. We can raise here or call in position. Given that there aren't any draws on board, there's little I need to worry about. In addition, my range consists of all pairs 7s and higher, and some top pairs, and he knows that. I make the call and try not to ring any fire alarms in his head. The turn is a 3, giving us a boat. It also puts out the backdoor flush. When he checks it to us, the better end of his range includes 10s plus and some backdoor flush draws that could either barrel or check. I decide to bet 40% to keep in hands like jacks, queens, king, queen, etc. He makes a quick call. Interesting. When a blank river hits the deck, I decide to size up. He checks it over to us, and we put in a big 3/4 bet, targeting top pair. He makes a quick call, and we take down a 12K pot. There's a lot of interesting variables in this hand. Would you all have used a different bet sizing on turn or river? Let me know down in the comments. Limper MacGyver is back, but this time, he likes his hand enough to put in a raise. We're sitting in the first straddle and look down to 8-7 diamonds. Pretty. We make the call and go heads up. Flop comes 7-6-5 2 hearts, giving us an open ender. When he checks it over, it's time to build a pot. We start by betting 200. He calls. On a blank turn, we can either bet or check. I decide to check to pot control, and I want to realize my equity for cheap. When the river brings in a 4-liner, the opponent leads out this time for $600, almost a pot-sized bet. We think it over and think that it's highly unlikely that he has a 9, and there's not a lot of 4s that he's raising with. Plus, this is just an overbluff spot, so we put in the call. It's not big of a pot, but it's nice to reel another one in. It also makes me feel better about big river calls against his opponent, as he has a high propensity to bluff wet spots. Overall, good hand for us.
Nice bet.
Here's a fun hand against Doug Polk. Hijack raises to 150. Doug's on the button and he makes the call. We look down at pocket JWINs and put in a mandatory 3-bet. 750. Hijack folds and Doug makes the overcall. It's good to know that in these situations, Doug's range is weighted heavily towards middling pairs and suited aces. The biggest pair he would have here is queens and jacks, and we're blocking the jacks. It's good to actively think through ranges. When the flop brings in ace-queen-6 rainbow, we're okay checking it over to him to see what he does. Given the action, I do the same with my ace-x, queen-x hands as well. On a blank turn, I check it over again, not seeing a reason to bet. This time, Doug makes a full-size bet, around $1,500. I think that if he had an ace, even if it was a weaker one, he'd often put out a flop bet before checking turn. Since he didn't do that, I'm still putting him on weaker hands. I make the call as third pair is sometimes going to be good here. On the river, we spike a 3rd jack. Not sure if we're going to need it, but at this point, I'm looking for a good check raise opportunity. We check it back once more, and Doug bets 2.3K. I don't see him smooth calling twice with King 10, so I remove these combos from his range. I follow through with my plan and raise it to 6.5K, targeting weaker aces and top 2-pair combinations that he might have turned or rivered. Unfortunately, he quickly mucks. Not bad for pocket JWINs though. We're 2 for 2 today.
We now take a quick break to enjoy Doug Polk's run bat. He gets aces in a straddle, but everyone folds. The first walk of the day.
We're 139 hands in, and we're about to end a session soon. We're sitting in the first straddle with queen 9 suited. It folds all the way to the small blind who raises to 150. We make the call and we go heads up. Flop is queen 8-8 rainbow. When he checks it to us, I'm not sure what worse hands call, so we check it back to play a 2-street game. On turn, villain puts out a full-size bet. With top pair, we're not going anywhere. River comes a 9, bringing in a gutter and potential boats. It also gives us top 2. When villain puts out a half-pot bet though, I'm not sure if we can fold here. We're getting 3-1, so we only need to be right 25% to break even. We're beating all of his queen X hands and bluffs. We put in the easy call and we're happy to hear that we're good. Feels great to take down this last hand. What's up, y'all? So we just got done with our session. I am actually rushing home so I can feed my pregnant wife. We're gonna go do something fun. But let's talk a little bit about the session. I guess 2 things bubble up on the top of my mind. Number 1, thank God for a big win. This is our biggest win for this year. Would have loved to hit plus 20, but we got close and the number's a little arbitrary to me. Just more of a nice confidence booster whenever I get the plus 20s. we ran good. We ran really, really good. I think there were several times where we had a hand coming from behind and we were able to make it work. So I'm not going to complain. We found ourselves in pretty good predicaments and made the right play. Made a couple of bad calls, but that's just, I think we'll have to review the tape and try to figure out if that was the right thing or not. But yeah, so that's the first thing. The second thing is I definitely walked out of the lodge with a little pep in my step, and that's such a psychological trap. You know how like when you do something and you do it really, really well, and all of a sudden you think you're the shit? Like, I remember just sitting in my car for a brief moment a few minutes ago and just going, yeah, like, you're not the shit. Like, you made plenty of mistakes this session, and you ran well, you got paid off sometimes. And I think it's just a good moment of humility. Last year, poker felt so much easier than this year. And as I move higher in stakes, the average skill set becomes more difficult to deal with. You're getting 3 and 4 bet left and right, in and out of position, and it becomes a little harder to play. But anyway, with that being said, I'm pretty grateful for this session. I was pretty stuck this month. Don't even want to tell you guys how much I was stuck this month and how much I've had to battle back. Fuck it. I was down about 30 to 40, and I had to play poker just about every single day. 5, 6, 7 hours a day. Some days 2 sessions. And it was a grind back because, you lose 25 to 30K in one game, but then you have to just constantly come back to fight for what, 5K? So it's been a pretty difficult year for me so far, but with this win, we're well into the black, and I don't plan to stop here. We still got about 5 days left to the month. We're just going to grind it out, and hopefully we can finish the month on a positive note. But anyway, enough poker talk. Thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. Hope you guys really enjoyed this vlog. I'm trying to get better with each and every single one, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. If you guys have any feedback, leave it down below. But otherwise, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your day, and I will see you in the next session. Peace.